Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
Today we're sharing 5 stories. First up, Tesla's board has proposed a $1 trillion pay package for Elon Musk, but he only gets it by growing the company to a $7.5 trillion valuation. Then we'll look at OpenAI's ChatGPT, which has more downloads in India than the US, 111 million versus 80 million, but a massive revenue gap is forcing a major strategy shift. After that, Warner Brothers is suing AI image generator Midjourney for allegedly pirating characters like Superman and Batman, threatening Midjourney's $300 million business. From there, we'll examine the massive conflict of interest brewing with OpenAI's chairman Bret, whose own AI startup Sierra just hit a $10 billion valuation. And finally, a complicated one. Google CEO Sundar Pichai publicly thanked Donald Trump after a judge ruled against breaking up the company in a landmark antitrust case. Let's start with a single number that feels almost fictional. $1 trillion. That's not a typo. Tesla's board has just proposed an unprecedented compensation plan for Elon Musk, but there's a massive catch. He only gets paid if he can boost Tesla's valuation to a staggering $7.5 trillion within the next decade. That's nearly 8 times its current value. One analyst called the metrics eye-popping, to say the least. The only way to justify a valuation that high is for Tesla to stop being just a car company. It has to become a dominant force in artificial intelligence. We're talking about achieving true level 5 full self-driving where no human driver is ever needed. To put that into perspective, their current FSD is classified as level 2+, which still requires constant driver supervision. Competitors like Waymo are already operating at level 4 with fully driverless vehicles in several cities. So, to get that payday, Musk has to deliver a massive, profitable robo-taxi network and likely a commercially viable Optimus humanoid robot. It's a moonshot bet on AI. This move has another investment analyst saying, quote, "1 minute Tesla's board is wondering if Elon Musk is a liability. The next, they're effectively saying pick a number, any number to lock him in." Interestingly enough, this creates what experts are calling a succession paradox. By making this package all about keeping Musk, the board is actively disincentivized from creating a strong backup plan, amplifying the long-term key person risk. After all, research shows that when a key CEO leaves a company in the S&P 500, its stock underperforms by an average of 11% over the next year. For Tesla, which is so tied to Musk's identity, that risk is even greater. The board clearly believes Musk is the key man on innovation and the biggest threat to the company is him leaving, but the timing is raising serious questions. Critics point out that Tesla has lost its edge, is being overtaken by rivals from China, and the brand has been tarnished by Musk's actions outside the company. This leads to the core conflict, with one analyst asking, surely Musk should be fighting for his job, not Tesla's board fighting to keep him. If fully earned, the award would also materially increase Musk's voting power from his current 13% stake, intensifying the debate over his control. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play here. His control isn't just about his own shares, it's about his unique relationship with Tesla's shareholder base. Retail investors, that's regular people, not big firms, own about 43% of Tesla's shares. That's a huge number, and they are famously loyal to Musk. This fan group dynamic can undermine traditional checks and balances, as we saw when they helped push through his last massive pay package. And the plot thickens with a recent legal maneuver. A corporate governance expert points out that a recent change to Tesla's bylaws in Texas now blocks shareholder lawsuits from anyone who holds less than 3% of the company. This could shield this massive decision from the kind of legal scrutiny that voided Musk's last $56 billion package. Essentially, after a Delaware court voided his last pay package based on a lawsuit from a shareholder who owned just 9 shares, Tesla reincorporated in Texas. The state has a new law that allows companies to set an ownership threshold for lawsuits. Tesla immediately set that threshold at 3%. That means someone would need to own $34 billion worth of stock to sue. This effectively blocks anyone except the absolute largest institutional investors from ever challenging the board's decisions in court. It's a strategic legal fortress. So the question isn't just whether one person is worth $1 trillion. It's whether this move sets a new bar for CEO incentives that will dominate boardroom debates everywhere, and what happens when the usual checks and balances are removed. The concern here is the potential ripple effect. If this is approved, you can bet that boards at other major tech companies will feel pressured to create similar mega grants. Yet, there's a fascinating contradiction here. Research suggests that these kinds of massive performance-based payouts don't always lead to the best long-term innovation. Some studies show they can actually encourage executives to focus on short-term gains. It's a high-stakes experiment in corporate governance, and we're all about to see how it plays out. Speaking of massive AI ambitions, let's shift our focus to how one of the biggest players, OpenAI, is tackling its global expansion. The story begins with a surprising statistic. ChatGPT has been downloaded more times in India than in the United States. Since its launch, India has racked up 111 million downloads, blowing past the 80 million in OpenAI's home country. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is the revenue. While India leads in downloads, US users have spent a staggering $784 million on the app. Indian users, just 21 million. That's the core of a massive power play now unfolding. This situation perfectly illustrates a classic business challenge known as the low ARPU conundrum. ARPU stands for average revenue per user. In a price-sensitive market like India, even with a massive user base, the revenue from each individual is tiny. OpenAI can't win just by getting downloads. It has to figure out how to make real money. To close that gap, OpenAI just launched a low-cost plan in India for just over $4 a month. One analyst calls it a classic wedge strategy to capture a price-sensitive market and build a user base that will be difficult for local players to dislodge later. But, price is only one part of the puzzle. To truly conquer the Indian market, OpenAI faces a massive technical hurdle. The country has 22 official languages and hundreds of dialects. Many users communicate using Hinglish, a mix of Hindi and English, often in the same sentence. This is called code switching, and it's incredibly difficult for current AI models, which are trained mostly on English data, to understand and generate accurately. So even with a lower price, making the tool truly useful for tens of millions of potential new users is a monumental task. And the stakes get even higher when you look at the infrastructure involved. OpenAI's CEO, Sam Altman, says India's AI adoption is amazing to watch and that the country is outpacing the world. To back that up, the company is now reportedly scouting a location in India for a massive data center with at least 1 gigawatt capacity, a major move to solidify its dominance. Now get this, a 1 gigawatt data center consumes an amount of electricity comparable to a large city. We're talking about a facility that could strain India's entire energy grid. Data centers also use enormous amounts of water for cooling. A 100 megawatt facility can use up to 2 million litres a day. Building something 10 times that size in a country already facing water stress is a huge environmental and political gamble. It's not just about building servers, it's about competing for land, water, and power. But this explosive growth is running straight into a wall of challenges. The company is locked in a high-stakes legal battle in India, accused of illegally using copyrighted material. It's a closely watched case that could set a major precedent for AI. The lawsuit was filed by Asian News International, or ANI, a major Indian news agency. They allege that ChatGPT is spitting out their copyrighted news content without permission or payment. OpenAI is arguing that its training happens outside of India, so Indian courts don't have jurisdiction. This is a critical test case because India's copyright law has no clear rules for AI training. The court's decision here could create the legal playbook for how AI companies must operate not just in India, but across the entire global south. Add in simmering geopolitical tensions over trade, and the entire operation could face serious complications. This all begs the question, can OpenAI navigate these legal and political hurdles to conquer its biggest market, or is this explosive growth about to hit a dead end? That legal battle in India over AI and copyright isn't an isolated incident. Right here in the US, a similar high-stakes war is brewing as Warner Brothers just accused an AI company of brazenly stealing Superman, Batman, and Scooby-Doo. The company is Midjourney, and according to a new lawsuit, it's on track to make an estimated $300 million this year. What's crucial to understand is that this massive revenue comes with a huge risk. Midjourney has grown this fast without any external funding, but these high-profile lawsuits could scare away future investors and even essential partners like payment processors or cloud providers. This fight isn't just about fines, it's an existential threat to their entire business model. Warner Brothers alleges Midjourney built its powerful image generator by pirating the studio's most iconic characters, allowing its nearly 21 million users to create downloadable images of them in, quote, every imaginable scene. So, to break down the technology, these AI models are trained by analyzing millions, sometimes billions, of images scraped from the internet. The AI learns patterns and styles from this data. When it sees thousands of images of Superman, it learns what Superman looks like and can then generate new images of him on command. The core of the lawsuit is whether that learning process is theft. What really brought this to a head was the next development. The lawsuit drops an absolute bombshell, claiming Midjourney knew its conduct was wrongful. Why? Because the company allegedly once blocked users from generating images of these characters, only to lift that protection last month and tout the change as an improvement. The lawsuit suggests this was a calculated move. Removing those safeguards was likely a response to user demand and intense competition. In the world of AI image generation, the more you can create, the better your product is. Midjourney may have decided that the benefit of letting users create popular characters like Batman was worth the massive legal risk. Warner Brothers isn't holding back, calling this a calculated and profit-driven decision and describing the situation as a breathtaking scope of its piracy and copyright infringement. And believe it or not, this isn't a one-on-one fight, it's an industry-wide war. The lawsuit follows a similar one filed just months ago by Walt Disney and Universal against Midjourney for infringing on characters like Darth Vader, Bart Simpson, and Shrek. Midjourney's defense in that case is that using copyrighted material to train AI models is fair use. Now, this fair use argument is the absolute core of the case, and it's getting much weaker. A recent Supreme Court case, Andy Warhol Foundation versus Goldsmith, really changed the game. The court ruled that just adding a new style or expression to a copyrighted work isn't automatically transformative fair use, especially if it's used for a similar commercial purpose. Since Midjourney is a commercial product, its fair use defense is now on very shaky ground. This isn't just a legal battle over who gets paid, it's a high-stakes showdown between Hollywood's old guard and Silicon Valley's new frontier, and the stakes are technical too. If Midjourney loses, it's not clear if they can simply delete Superman from the AI's brain. The technology to do this, called machine unlearning, is still highly experimental. They might have to scrap their entire model and start from scratch. The outcome here is critical because if the studios win, we could see a future of licensed AI. Companies like Adobe and Getty Images are already building AI tools trained only on their own licensed content. This creates a walled garden where you can generate images that are legally safe, but it might also mean higher costs and a less creative AI landscape. This lawsuit isn't just about Superman, it's about defining the future of digital creativity. While some AI companies are fighting for their survival in court, others are experiencing an investment gold rush. And that brings us to a fascinating story of blurred lines at the very top of the industry. The chairman of the board at OpenAI is now officially in competition with his own company. Bret Taylor's AI startup, Sierra, just secured a massive $350 million in fresh capital, launching its valuation to a staggering $10 billion. Now, Taylor has publicly addressed this potential conflict. He argues that Sierra isn't a direct competitor, but actually a customer of foundation models like the ones OpenAI builds, operating at a different layer of the AI stack. To manage this, he's committed to recusing himself from any OpenAI board decisions where there might be an overlap. This really highlights just how tangled the web of leadership is getting in the AI industry. That $10 billion number is an absolute bombshell, placing Sierra in an exclusive club alongside the very company Taylor helps lead, OpenAI, as well as giants like Anthropic and xAI. So you might be wondering how a company so new can be worth so much. Well, investors are betting on some incredible momentum. Sierra is reportedly on track to surpass $100 million in annual recurring revenue. For a company less than 2 years old, that kind of growth is almost unheard of, and it's what's justifying that massive price tag. And the growth is explosive. Sierra's valuation has more than doubled since its last funding round in October. For a company founded just in 2023, it claims its AI customer service agents are already being used by hundreds of millions of people for everything from refinancing a home to ordering lunch. Let's break that down because those are big claims. When a business-to-business company like Sierra says it serves hundreds of millions of people, that usually means the total number of interactions end users have with their clients' platforms. So it's not necessarily unique individuals. And as for a task as serious as refinancing a home, there's a big difference between a sophisticated chatbot and a truly autonomous AI agent. Right now, for high-stakes financial tasks, these agents still require significant human oversight. The Bank of England has even warned that AI could amplify market instability if not managed carefully. But here's where the power dynamics get really interesting. Taylor is the former co-CEO of software titan Salesforce. While his new AI venture skyrockets, Salesforce stock recently stumbled, partly over concerns about how AI is disrupting the entire software industry. It's a classic story of the new guard challenging the old, with a key player switching sides. Here's where it gets interesting for the future of all software. The reason investors and legacy companies are so nervous is that AI agents could fundamentally change how we use computers. Instead of clicking through menus, you might just tell an agent what to do. Some experts, like Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, even predict this could make traditional software as a service or SaaS models obsolete. This isn't just a new feature, it's a potential extinction event for old school software, and we're already seeing it happen. The fintech company Klarna, for example, reported saving around $40 million a year by replacing some of its traditional software vendors with AI. This all comes amid a frenzy of investment in Silicon Valley. Rival company Anthropic just closed a funding round at an almost unbelievable $183 billion valuation. The race is on, and the money is flowing like never before. This all begs the question, how do you chair the board of one AI titan while simultaneously building another to compete with it? In the high-stakes gold rush for artificial intelligence, the lines are blurring, and the most dramatic power plays are happening right at the very top. Speaking of blurred lines, our final story today takes us to the intersection of big tech, big money, and big politics. Imagine this. A company adds $230 billion to its market cap after a judge ruled it wouldn't be broken up for being an illegal monopoly. And the first person the CEO thanked, the president whose administration brought the lawsuit in the first place. While Google avoided a full breakup, the victory came with some serious strings attached. The ruling mandates that Google must share its valuable search index and user data with qualified competitors, and it's now prohibited from making exclusive deals that block rival apps. The goal here is to break the data feedback loop that keeps Google so dominant. So it's a win, but a complicated one. At a White House dinner, President Donald Trump called on Google CEO Sundar Pichai, saying, "Well, you had a very good day yesterday. Do you want to talk about that big day you had yesterday?" Pichai responded, "I'm glad it's over," then added, "Appreciate that your administration had a constructive dialogue and we were able to get it to some resolution." Now, that phrase, constructive dialogue, is key. It's a classic example of what's known as political hedging. Companies like Google have to navigate the complex political landscape to protect their business. They foster open communication and even collaborate with administrations that are actively investigating them. It's a strategy to manage risk and influence policy, no matter who is in power. But there's an awkward detail. The landmark antitrust case was filed by the Department of Justice back in 2020 during Trump's first term. During the dinner, Trump interrupted Pichai to say Biden was the one who prosecuted that lawsuit. You know that, right? The Google CEO did not correct him. Pichai's silence wasn't an accident. It was a calculated communication strategy. When dealing with powerful political leaders, tech CEOs often prioritize diplomacy and relationship building over correcting every factual error. By not correcting the president, Pichai likely aimed to maintain a positive rapport, recognizing that this relationship could be crucial for future policy decisions. It's about playing chess, not checkers. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. After thanking the president for the resolution, Pichai immediately pivoted to praising Trump's leadership on artificial intelligence, pointing to the administration's AI action plan and saying, "We look forward to working together." That's the same plan that includes an executive order to prevent woke AI. This presents a fascinating duality for a global company like Google. On one side, the executive order on woke AI mandates that AI systems used by the government must be ideologically neutral and exclude principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. On the other side, for years, Google has publicly committed to integrating these very DEI principles into its AI development to fight bias. So now you have a direct conflict, a federal directive versus a company's own ethical commitments. So you have Google found to hold an illegal monopoly, now thanking the administration that prosecuted it and discussing a future AI collaboration. And the web of contradictions doesn't stop there. Even as they discuss this new partnership, Google is also in discussions with Trump's lawyers over a completely separate ongoing lawsuit the president filed years ago, accusing Google's YouTube of unlawful censorship. A massive company like Google, is built to handle these contradictions. Their legal and PR teams are experts at compartmentalizing. They treat the antitrust case, which is about market power, as a completely separate issue from the censorship lawsuit, which is about content moderation. For them, it's just two different fronts in a much larger war. A company, a president, and a web of lawsuits and partnerships. One case ends and a new alliance begins, all while another legal battle is still on the table. So what's the real end game here?
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.